Hey there. This will be my review for the new horror thriller drama film, Weapons. Now, spoiler free review first. I really enjoyed this movie. Essentially, especially the more that I think about it, it's one of those movies that you walk out of the theater, at least if you're me, and you're like, wow, I really enjoyed that. And then the more you kind of think about it, the more you ruminate on it, you're like, man, I think I like that even more than I initially thought I did. From the trailers, it's not what you would expect in a manner of speaking. It's still for sure a horror film, but there's some tonal differences. The way that the story is being told is not what I was expecting at all. And it's all just a really pleasant surprise. So, yeah, if you're interested in the movie, I would highly recommend you go see it. What I spoil, I don't know if I'm going to go completely spoil every single little bit in the spoiler section of this video, but I think this is a movie that should be experienced with you knowing as little as possible. So I think everybody does a wonderful job. I think the score is really wonderful. The actors do a stellar job, and the story is just really there. Everything, it feels like a very lived in world, and it feels like you are simply watching something that happened in this world. And even though if that doesn't make a lot of sense, to me, it means a lot. I appreciate whenever a movie doesn't feel like, hey, I'm going to make this up. The movie feels like, hey, this happened and we captured it. And this movie to me feels like that. So yeah, highly recommended. I would give it, man, yeah, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Really solid movie. Even if you're not really big into horror films, I think you might like this. There are some gory bits. There is definitely some jump scares and things like that. I don't think they're cheap ones like a lot of movies. But yeah, really solid movie, and I think you'll enjoy it. Now, for the spoilers. It's spoilers time. We're doing spoilers now. Goodness gracious. I loved this movie. I really, really liked this movie. Yeah, I don't know exactly how I want to tell it because, so the movie doesn't go A, B, C, D. It jumps all around. And that was one of the things that I didn't expect. I also didn't expect how many jokes would be in this movie. I didn't expect, like I said, you watch the trailer and it's like, it's all very foreboding and very scary. And it's like, there are some very scary, terrifying parts of this movie, some points that made me feel like uneasy. And that's just a sign of the really good storytelling and the really good use of the genre. But then there's also, so, some dramatic elements, some funny elements, a little bit of like, there's a chase scene, there's a little bit of action here and there. And it wasn't what I was expecting. And man, I love so much about this movie. First off, one of the things I wasn't expecting from the trailer, I thought we would only be following really the perspective of the teacher. And forgive me, I'm not saying actors' names because I don't know all of them, but everybody did a wonderful job. I thought we would just be following the teacher who her classroom essentially disappeared, and we follow her for a bit. And you could kind of say it's her story, but really, like I said in the spoiler-free section of this video, this is just this town's story. We follow the perspectives of the teacher, a cop in the town who she's having an affair with, one of the parents of one of the kids who goes missing, the principal, I believe he's the principal of the school where the incident happens. We follow one of the kids' POV, and we follow the POV of a either crack or meth head. I believe a crackhead, because he had the little glass pipe. And all of it is so well done. The themes, the elements in this movie, the acting, all of it just, they nail it. They hit the ball out of the park. I said 8 out of 10 in the beginning, man. It might lean more towards a 9. I can't think of anything in this movie that is not good, that you could objectively take a step back and go, that wasn't done right. Now, there could be story elements about this movie that don't feel fleshed out, but I think that all leans towards, this is just, for lack of a better phrase, this is just kind of like a day in the life. We're not watching a full necessary story in that every single thing is completely fleshed out, all the loose ends are knotted together, and we get a perfect bow on top. We get the introduction to the specific part of the story, and we do see the resolution. But yeah, like I really love some of the kind of information that doesn't even necessarily get completely fleshed out. I like whenever we get the officer's POV and we see, he has a bit of a history with a drinking problem, and really he should have gone to an AA meeting rather than meeting up with his ex, who is the teacher in this movie, and eventually drinking and sleeping with her. And then that leads to all sorts of bad things happening. Sometimes in these reviews, I go like story beat by story beat, but man, just going all over the place. I really loved the witch. I really loved, as odd as it'll sound, I really loved the villain of this movie. And part of the reason why I liked it is part of the reason why I liked a lot of the movie. You don't know everything about the villain. You know just enough. You know just enough for it to work. She's this witch that we don't really know how old she is. There was a bit of a joke mentioned because basically she is the aunt, or at least we're told she's the aunt of the kid who's the only child from the teacher's classroom who didn't go missing. And it becomes very obvious why that is. But she comes in, she's very sick. We don't know how old she is. She's very sick. She goes to stay at her niece's home. And the mother and father, they're the parents of the child, again, whose POV we get later on. She is this witch who, there's multiple things throughout the story where there's quick little references to parasites and how parasites leech life off of other things so that they can live. And this is what she's doing with her magic. This is the point of the entire movie. The whole point for why, and it's kind of there's themes there of like abuse. There's themes of, at one point, she forces through magic, the parents are sitting at the table like essentially, vegetables, and she forces them to show the kid, to show Alex, I remember that character's name, to show Alex, this is why you should be quiet. Don't tell anybody what's happening in this house. And she forces the parents to literally take forks and just stab themselves in the face. It's a wild scene, but it does kind of reinforce this thing of like, you don't know what's happening behind closed doors. You don't know what's happening at people's homes if they can put on a good enough face. You got no idea. And it's like, it's a really harsh scene. And the movie, in a manner of speaking, because one of the things also is like, whenever she does that with the parents, and then also later on, she gets all the children, I believe it's 17, they say, to come into the house, and then they're in the basement, and then, she's leeching off of them. And she's slowly, one of the good ways that they show that like, her illness is kind of subsiding is her hair is starting to grow back. She's this old woman, but her hair is starting to grow back. But the resolution of the movie is Alex essentially uses her own magic against her. And you could kind of, I hope this makes sense, the things that you kind of like brush under the rug, the things that you tell people not to talk about, and even maybe you do that with yourself, inevitably it boils over. And for the main witch, the main villain of this movie, it boils over in Alex using the very magic that she came in and used to vegetize his parents and use that against him and use it against all these children. He uses against her to get the kids to just maul her. Because that is the end of this movie. Minutes before credits roll, you watch as, again, approximately 17 kids rip this old lady to bits. That's it. And then literally, like, that happens. Everybody and that was another good thing about this movie. It's a satisfying ending, but it's definitely not a fairy tale happy ending. Because all of these kids are in this vegetized state for like a month. Alex's parents are in this vegetized state for like a month plus because the witch got there a little bit beforehand, before all the kids go missing. And everybody gets out of her spell, but even the monologue that's being spoken by some kid, we don't know who it is, but kind of the narrator is a child who intros the movie and outros it. They say that, some of the kids eventually started talking again, and like literally the last shot of the film is Josh Brolin's character holding his son and the camera just kind of following his face, and his face, even though he's out of the haze of the magic, it's still just kind of like that. I know, again, this review is a little bit all over the place, but the movie's a little bit all over the place with its storytelling. So there you go. It was purposeful. I did this on purpose. I didn't. It's just kind of how my mind works. It's a bit manic. I apologize. But yeah, like this movie, everything is just done so well. Everybody acts so well. The storytelling is done so well because you could see in another film, hey, we're going to chop it up and you're going to go all over the place. And it's not done satisfyingly. It doesn't make sense. Oh, well, this character was here, but in this movie, it all just works so incredibly well. And if you're still watching in this the spoiler section, man, shut this off right now and go watch this movie. Because if you're interested for any reason, let me tell you, it is not going to disappoint. Like I said in the spoiler free, it's a horror film, but it's not like another horror film I recently watched, Final Destination Bloodlines, even though there is some dang gore. Like I said, the witch gets torn apart at the end, and there's some other pretty gnarly bits, but it's not gore for the sake of gore. It's not violence for the sake of violence. Everything is explained. Never, even in some of the more gratuitous parts, do you feel like it's carrying on a bit much, if that makes sense. It's not a Saw film. It's not the bad Final Destination or the bad parts of some of the Final Destination movies. Everything feels grounded. Even the magic, which is bizarre. But this is another thing I like about the movie. Like I've said multiple times, everything isn't like over-explained to you, even so far as the magic. You watch as the witch does several rituals and you understand what's happening. She has like this little magic tree. It looks like a bonsai tree, but a little bit bigger. She takes that, pricks it with some of her blood, wraps something from somebody that she wants bad things to happen to around it, breaks it. That person's gone. That person gets handled by the people that she's put under spells. So yeah, I mean, the long and the short of it is, the story is witch comes into town. Witch is dying. We don't know, and this is kind of what I talked about earlier, her age. She goes to the school to talk to the principal on Alex's parents' behalf because, again, they're vegetables. They can't come talk. And she makes mention, which maybe this is what she's dealing with. We don't know. I doubt it, but she makes mention to the principal that the parents are dealing with consumption. And he goes, oh, I thought that was just something that people dealt with like in settlers' days. And she's like, yeah. So it's like, we don't know how old this being is. We don't know how old this woman is. She makes mention to Alex, I've been sick for a very long time. And she thought that by coming and just kind of like sucking the life force out of Alex's parents, that would be the resolution to her problems. And like she tells him, it's not. So she has to, draw in all these kids. She eventually draws in the police officer whenever the crackhead. This is one of the great things about the crackhead storyline. The crackhead, he needs crack. And how do you get crack? You have to have money. How do you get money? For him, you take stuff down to the pawn shop like we see him do a couple of times. And he stumbles upon Alex's house where all of this is happening. Whenever the witch isn't home, I don't think. Or no, actually, I believe the witch is home because we hear her knocking around upstairs. But he stumbles upon all the kids in the basement. And then he gets freaked out. He almost gets caught, runs off, tells the police officer. The police officer goes there, and then fairly quickly, the police officer is under the witch's spell. The crackhead is under the witch's spell. And also, the principal eventually comes under the witch's spell because the principal starts, digging his nose in to kind of the home business, the house business, and the witch goes and pays him a visit. And the reason why the movie is called Weapons, and Josh Brolin essentially says this, is because whatever spell these people go under, they become like an aimed weapon, like an aimed missile, going towards exactly whatever the witch wants them to do. And that's kind of the whole point. That's the whole thing, is like all of these people who we're viewing as people, they are just objects. They are just objects to something darker and greater, at least as far as power, to the people around them. And it's really, it's weapons that are the resolution to it. It's weapons that one of the main characters, the teacher, has to use to dispatch both the cop, whenever her and Josh Brolin get to the house, to dispatch the cop and the crackhead. And it's also weapons, in a manner of speaking, the kids being used as weapons by Alex whenever he utilizes the magic against the witch, being used as weapons to defeat the ultimate evil. Which is funny. It's interesting because it's not like the real evil. You could say it's the witch, but the real evil is the magic, right? It's the dark magic, and that's not defeated. If anything, it just continues. It's just utilized by Alex. Now, there's nothing to kind of say like, oh, does Alex get into it? Not at all. No, the movie makes it abundantly clear. Like, Alex just goes off to live with a better aunt who's actually nice, rather than the bad aunt that he has to live with for like over a month, which is just heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking to watch as she's like forcing him to live in these terrible conditions where she's making him like care for his addled parents, and it's disgusting. But there's one of the themes of the movie that I got whenever I was thinking about it, because I was talking with a friend of mine, and he got some themes that I didn't get as much, but I understood where he was coming from. But the main theme for me that I was constantly thinking about and was going over and over in my mind is to what lengths will you go to for the thing that you love, right? And we see this in multiple characters stories. We see that even with the crackhead, because his whole thing is, man, I love my drugs. I love my drugs, and what will I do to get my drugs? We see this with the teacher, because there's multiple mentions of like, she kind of goes above and beyond. She's giving kids rides home. She's helped kids whenever they're struggling. Like the principal tells her, like, you can't be hugging kids, and she's like, God forbid I hug a crying child. The whole reason why she even goes to see if Alex is okay is because of her care for him, because she's a teacher and she cares for kids and she loves them, and those are the lengths that she's willing to go to. Josh Brolin's character, he essentially, we see in various ways, he's kind of destroying his life because his son's gone and he wants to do whatever he can to get his son back. The witch, which I hadn't even thought about until right now, the witch loves living. The witch loves her life. She loves whatever her life has been, because again, we don't know, because they don't lay everything out for you, but she loves life and she loves living so much that she is willing to sacrifice all of these people so that she can get a little bit longer, so she can get a little bit more of life. And yeah, like in the Christian life, we can, and not to make this huge, but I mean, this is where my mind goes. What we see over and over in this movie is the bad version. Now, there's good versions, like with the teacher, like with the father, but we see the bad versions, like with the crackhead, like with the witch. But we as Christians, we know the lengths that the good one is willing to go to for those that he loves, right? For Christ so loved the world. For God so loved the world that he sent his only begotten son, so that all who put their faith in him shall not perish but ever have everlasting life. He bore all of our iniquities, all of our shame, all of our guilt. He bore all of it on the cross. So it's like, this is part of the reason why, and I recently had a video where I talked about why I love horror movies, because I think even in the darkest of darks, even in these things that are depicting fiction, fantasy, but they're emulating real darkness, real evil, we can be reminded of the good, because what is the evil except for the evil cannot create anything new. All the evil is bastardization of the good. But even in looking in their twisted, mangled version of it, we can be reminded of the actual light. And it is only by looking in the darkness we are reminded, how do I even know that that is the darkness? Because I know that there is a light. This movie is just like it's just a story about these people living in this ridiculous, horrific situation. Many of us have to confront and come to terms with the question of, what lengths am I willing to go to for what I love? And also, really, is what I love worthwhile? But, man, yeah, weapons. I really enjoyed this movie. I went and saw it by myself. I'm definitely going to have to watch it with my wife, because we both enjoy horror movies, and I know she'll like it. But I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope if you go see the movie, I hope you like it. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you didn't like this video. Maybe you don't like the movie. Maybe you don't like horror movies in general. Let me know below. This is the worst part of the video, because I know it's super cringy, but hey, come here. Let me just, matter of fact, I'm just going to pick this thing up. If you could you like the video? Could you comment on it? Maybe you're not subscribed. Could you subscribe? Could you click that bell notification? It's the worst thing that I have to do in these YouTube videos, but I'm not going to lie to you. Come here real quick again. It helps. It helps a lot. It really does. It helps more than you know. But yeah, look, maybe you didn't like any of it. Maybe you didn't like the fact that I just had to do that. But can I tell you something? God loves you. And I love you. God bless, my friend. Wait a second. If you're still here, and I know at least a couple of you are, I look at the analytics, I know the percentages. Hey, if there's a movie or something that you would like to see me review next, let me know in the comments below. Thanks. Consider supporting me today by going to thelordsgiant.com and making a donation or picking up some merch, or by finding me on Patreon.